Welcome back to the shop. So today on the way to work, my 2002 Saturn SC1 started having brake noises on the front right rotor. Sounds pretty bad. I don't really know if I'm going to find it being the indicator or if the pad is gone and it's metal on metal. Let's get it up on the lift, get the wheels off, and see what's going on. Okay, I got the wheel off and I can see already there's some metal shavings on top of this. I feel the rotor. I can feel roughness on the back. It also feels pretty thin. I'm sure it's getting close to the limits. So I'll take this 14mm and take off the caliper. So those pins look okay, they're not corroded or stuck. All right. Caliper looks okay. I'm taking a tie wrap and I'm going to hang it from the spring so that I don't damage the hose, which can cause problems later on. And at this point I can pull off the brake pad. I'm going to go ahead and take off the bracket, make it easier to look at everything all at once. So this is an 18mm bolt that holds on the bracket. Okay. You know, this is actually almost textbook as far as how pads should wear. You can see this is the outside pad. It's pretty much, it's worn to metal, but it's gone completely. If I look at the outside pad, basically right at the limits also, there's hardly anything left. So these pads wore evenly, but completely. And I'll take off this rotor. Sometimes you get it under good pressure like this and you add heat and it'll just naturally relieve itself and pull off. All right, it worked. Okay, one way to avoid having this get stuck on the car again is to, first of all, you can buy a coated rotor. For me, the coated rotor was about $10 more per rotor, and I want to be able to show what you can do with this rotor. This surface here and this fang surface here, this is the part that will end up getting corrosion and just almost bond to the axle, drive axle. So what I'm going to do, this is my plan here. So now what I can do is I've masked it off roughly. And I can put a thin layer. Now this paint job is not need to be for looks. It just needs to form a protective barrier between this metal and the environment. Of course, you don't want it to be thick because then it could displace the rotor and not fit on the hub very well. So, all right, let's let it dry and see what happens. Okay, so now I'm going to prep this hub to put the new disc rotor on, brake rotor. So right here is part of the spot that really was corroded. Primarily, it was the fact that the rotor was expanding and kind of grabbing onto this due to corrosion. So what I'm going to do is wire brush the hub here, get off all the excess corrosion, and then what I'm going to do next is to put some NICs, Permatex NICs, which is like a silver compound. So I'll wire brush it all, and I'll put some of this. I don't really want to put a lot of lubrication on the lug nut threads, but I do want this fading surface, and then we can put the rotor on, the bracket, and the brake. So when I took off the brakes, the right caliper was leaking, and the left bracket had a seized guide pin. So I got new rotors, and I have new calipers and brackets. And as you could see earlier in the video, I painted the parts of the rotor that would corrode and clamp onto the hub. So now I'm putting on the caliper and the bracket, making sure that it's tight. That's an 18mm holding the bracket to the hub. And those are the hardware that go with the brake pads. So it's a new caliper, new bracket, and new hardware. So brake pads slide in pretty easily, as you can see. Once I get the caliper on there, I tighten that down, and next thing I do is to attach the flexible hose. And once the flexible hose is attached, I need to bleed the brakes. Now in this instance, I actually let the reservoir get too low, so don't do that. Make sure you keep the reservoir topped off when you do brake bleeding. And I used a combination of gravity bleeding and pressure bleeding with a vacuum. Actually, it's a vacuum bleed. Anyway, the test drive was good. The brakes haven't worked this good in many miles. So thanks for watching the video. And I actually am planning on making another video to show specifically how to remove frozen brake drums and how to prevent them, brake rotors, and how to prevent them from seizing in the future. Thanks.